What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Blaine from TinySparrowMarketing.com. I wanted to take a second to record another video for you about a question that I get constantly, like on email, in person, on DMs. It's by far the number one question that I get. And if you don't already have a good guess of what it is, it's what equipment do I need to be able to start recording videos for my social media? Like, what stuff do I need? Or another version of that is, hey, how come you're not putting out that much social media? Well, I don't have the right equipment. I don't have the right gear. I get it. I've done the same thing. This studio is full of gear that was purchased by me because I thought I needed it, or in some way it gave me some type of a boost in confidence, or the feeling that production value would be better if I had this, and if I had this, then I'd finally have the courage to get going with this. I get it. We all do it. So the number one question that I get all the time is, what gear do I need in order to start recording content for my channel or for my social media? And the simple answer, like the TLDR answer for this is you need your iPhone and a quiet room. All right, video done. But I get it. Not everybody's feels like that's enough. And truthfully, it depends on what you're doing. But at the very base of everything, yeah, a smartphone that can record at least 1080p, 4K is great, but at least 1080p, and a quiet room, and you're going to be able to put out content that's on par with a lot of people who are doing very, very well in social media. So to start with, whether you've got an iPhone, iPhone anything from an iPhone 8 or newer, iPhone 7 or newer, even iPhone 6 or newer, really there's no excuses, guys. And there's a bazillion Android phones that have been recording in HD for a long, long time. So really doesn't matter the type of phone. It isn't until you get into about the iPhone 12 or 13 era where you start getting that cinematic mode, where it'll kind of blur out the background from you in the foreground. And that can give a pretty cool look. And yes, that is a step up, but it's definitely not essential. And it doesn't always look as perfect and as on point as recording a video the proper way to achieve a blurry background, which would be with a proper camera and proper lenses and all that kind of stuff. So you're gonna need at least your smartphone and some way to hold it up. The simplest, most simple way to hold your phone up is gonna be just to prop it up on your desk against some books or a drink or your monitor. Your laptop monitor makes a great way to prop up a camera because it can tilt back and forth. So you need somewhere to prop your phone up, or even better than that, a tripod. A ring light is great. A lot of those come with a mount to hold your phone. Personally, one of my favorites, I'll show you here, is to use a friction arm. This little guy they're not terribly expensive. They're probably between $10 and $20. It's got a knob on here that you turn, and when you tighten it, then the arm stays straight in whatever direction that you put it. So it lets you clamp it onto a variety of surfaces or angles or anything just by clipping it on. It doesn't hurt it. You just grab onto it, mount it up, and all of a sudden you can use the back of a chair to be like a tripod, or a door, or really anything that's sturdy enough for you to clamp this to can become a tripod and a point for your camera to set up and to point back at you. So one of my favorite things, it's super lightweight. It saves me from hauling around a tripod. So I definitely recommend one of these. I'll try to put a link down in the description for a friction arm. Also, on top of the friction arm, we've got a standard, phone holder. Nothing special. It's just like any other phone holder. And this one happens to have a cold shoe on the top. A cold shoe, if you don't know, is on top of cameras. We've all seen this metal thing that's on the top of a camera. It's called a hot shoe because it communicates with the camera. When it doesn't have contacts and communication stuff, when it's just the shape, we call that a cold shoe. So this happens to have a cold shoe, which lets me, if I want to, mount a little shotgun mic on the top. Not necessary, but it's a nice little thing that you might look for. So friction arm with a camera holder is a great way to get started on setting up your setup. Okay, so next thing that you're gonna need, and arguably the most important probably, is good audio. Good audio is essential. You can have great visuals, but if your audio is garbledy and sounds bad or too low or scratchy or too loud, it's game over. Literally, it's game over. Your stuff can look gorgeous, but if the sound's off, people are out. So you got to make sure that your sound is on point. For this video, you can see that I'm recording on a microphone that's a dynamic microphone. And it plugs right into my computer. In this instance, to make things easy, I'm recording straight into my computer and into a recorder. But this type of a microphone is going to give you more of that radio station news type of a vibe, where you get that special sound, that specific sound that's different and more rich and more better, and even sounds more pleasing to our own ears than when we record something, just on a regular recorder and play it back. So that's something to consider. Definitely not necessary. It's a little bit more cumbersome, but if your setup is at a desk, one of these dynamic microphones is incredible and awesome. This one happens to be made by a company called Fifine. Again, I'll put a link down in the comments, not sponsored. I just like their stuff. It's affordable, it's not over the top, and it sounds really good, and it competes within, very close with things that are much, much more expensive and are actually in a whole entirely different league. If you're going to use your smartphone to record audio, that's great. No problem. Just make sure that you're in a quiet room and that you're as close to the phone as you can be. Let's not set up the phone 10 feet away from us and expect the phone to capture good audio. In this instance, we're going to want to set the phone to as wide of an angle as possible so that we can get it as close to us as possible. And that'll result in reasonably good sound, pretty good sound. The new iPhones, new Android phones have incredible microphones in them. They have incredible noise suppression and compression, all those things. They're just really, really good. So don't dismiss the ability to get good audio just because you're using a smartphone. Now, if you're going to take it up a little bit of a notch, there's some really, really great solutions for audio in the wireless world. This is going to make everything a lot easier in some ways, but it also does add in a layer of complexity that you've got another piece of gear that's going to have to be charged, that's going to have to be paired or at least connected to your camera. But let's take a look at those really quick and see what kind of options exist for somebody who's just getting started. So we'll start here on the higher end of things, and that would be, this is what I like to use on production, on actual production stuff when I have to use a lav mic. This is called the PicoStream Pico mic. I've had this for years now. This is the second generation. I've got the first and second generation. They're really great because it's got these little lavs that just magnetically clip into the base. So they've always got a place where they're stored and where they're at home. These little guys, once you take them off of the base, they're great because they clip onto your client's shirt. And when I say that, the best part about them is this is totally opposite from all other lav mics that I've seen. And it's the reason that I love these things. They actually go on backwards from what you would assume, right? Most of us would assume that the small part of the clip goes inside of the shirt and the big part of the clip goes on the outside, because that's what everything else in the world does. But not this one. They've engineered it in a different way, which is so smart. They put the microphone inside of the tiny part of the clip, and then you put the big part behind. So just the littlest, teeniest, tiniest clip part is what's sticking out. I love that. It's very, very indiscreet. On a tie, you cannot tell that it's not just a tie clip. On a pocket, it just looks like a pen in a pocket. So I highly recommend these. They're a little bit harder to find, not terribly expensive. I'll put a link for it in the bio. But again, one of my favorite things. And so I use it. I love it. I recommend it. It's a great way to go if you're willing to invest about $300 into a wireless transmitter. Now, let's say that $300 isn't where you want to be. You want to be more around the, midpoint, maybe about $100, $7,500, $150 in that range. This is another great kit. This one's made by Ulanzi. It's a little bit more cumbersome. You can see that it's about the size of a stack of business cards. I'm not sure how many, but a stack of business cards. And inside you've got your lav mic, 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. That's the way a lot of these things are, is they either come as a 1 transmitter, 1 receiver, or 2 transmitters, 1 receiver, which allows you to interview like a host and a guest on the screen. So this one is one of those dual ones, just like the Pico mic I showed you. It's got 2 2 transmitters, and it's got a receiver that's going to connect to your camera or to your smartphone or to your recorder. They just connect using a standard headphone type cord or cable. It's called a 3.5. So these ones are pretty cool because they have a little mic input. So in theory, you could take a mic like this one that was on top of our phone, our phone holder. It has a 3.5 output on the back. And so you would just take a typical headphone type of a cable and connect this to the top of this, and then just put this in the person's pocket. That's a great way to get audio close to a person. Well, you wouldn't want to put it in their pocket, right? But you'd want to put it on the stand. So that's a good way to get audio wirelessly close to a person. Or if you want to use a special type of microphone, maybe one that goes over their ear that appears more invisible, a kit like this is going to be really good because it'll let you use your favorite microphone with this wireless system. So it's a little bit adaptable in that way. But you don't have to have your own wireless microphones. This one will record right into it. It has a built-in microphone. This one's a little bit more chunky than the last one I showed you, and it doesn't do that fancy reverse clip thing where the clip part is on the outside. So it's a little bit more cumbersome to have something, I don't know what size this is comparable to, but something of this size stuck onto your shirt. It's pretty obvious. So it's not my favorite visually, but functionally they're really, really good. Both of these wireless ones have a screen on their receiver, so you can tell if your levels are clipping or if they're good. So that's another good option midway. Now, on the lower end price of things, there's some really cool options, especially for people who are just using their smartphone to record. And one of those would be a kit like this. I picked this one up for like $20. I don't think they'll be able to find the exact link, but I can provide a link to something like it in the comments, in the description. Again, same type of a setup, 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. The difference with this one, guys, is that the receiver for this has a lightning connector. So you're going to be able to connect to your all your iPhones all the way up until i15 when they switched over to USB-C. So really great thing. You're just going to connect this right up into the phone. The transmitter doesn't have to be charged or anything like that. Then you put one of the, lav mics onto the person that you're filming or yourself. These do have to be charged, but the case will charge them for you. And there's a little display on the case that shows you how much battery power is left in the case and lets you know if these things are charged up. Super affordable, super easy to set up. There's no settings to go through, none of that kind of stuff. So this can be a really great solution if you're wanting to be extremely lightweight, extremely simple, but upgrade your sound, especially if you want to be a little bit further from your camera or you're in an environment where you need to have a mic close to you. And last but not least is another style of affordable microphones. These ones that I'm showing you are truthfully they're knockoffs or Chinese versions of more expensive kit that's been made in the past. You'll recognize these look a lot like Rhodes wireless kit. These ones, again, these are just cheap. They're off of Amazon. Transmitter and receiver. They have screens built into them. You can connect your own lav mic to them or use them on their own. The only drawback to these, again, is that they are so cumbersome and chunky and big, and they just don't look good on camera to me. So I really don't like them unless I'm using them with an external microphone so that I can hide this transmitter. One other thing to point out about some of these wireless kits is that you can use them with a cold shoe or a hot shoe of a camera in most cases. This is something that just occurred to me recently, but the little clip here on the back in most cases happens to be the same size as the hot shoe on a camera. So you can clip it onto there and store it there. Let's find our other one. Here we go. The Ulanzi is the same way. You just clip the little back thing and it slides right into there. They've made it that exact size. So kudos for that. It's a really neat idea. I like it. Points for the design team. Okay, so when you're recording audio, there's a few ways to do it. If you're recording right on your laptop, it can be super duper easy just to record directly into your laptop. There's some cool softwares out there that make it easy to do. But I like that option if you're a person who records at your desk. If you're shooting on a camera, on a proper camera, you'll want to have a camera that has a mic input. Not every camera does, but most of them nowadays do. And you can definitely get a 4K camera that can have a mic input for easily in the $200 to $300 range nowadays. So you can record into your computer, you can record into your DSLR mirrorless camera. And the third way, probably the most proper way, would be to record into a recorder. Now this one right here, this is, I think this is the Zoom H1N. It's a tiny little controller or recorder, you know, just fits in my hand, literally. Takes 2 AAA batteries, very, very simple interface. You're not gonna get lost in the settings or anything like that. Also very affordable. You're not gonna break the bank buying one of these. It's great because you can mount this. It comes with a mount that you can put it on top of your camera if you want to go that way. Also, you can just throw it in your pocket or in a bag, tethered to your wireless mic, set it and forget it and let it just do its thing. I love that about these guys. They're tried and true. They're awesome. If you have one, you'll probably have one forever because they just don't seem to break and they just really work very well. They don't chew through batteries. And even if they do, you can plug in a cable to a battery bank and keep it running for days on end, literally days on end. Okay, so we've got our audio on point. We've got our video on point, at least in terms of we're gonna record on our smartphone in HD or 4K if possible. And then taking it up another level from there, you can get into all different kinds of cameras. This isn't the video to talk about that because there's just so many options, so many different use cases, so many different price points. It just doesn't make sense. But for the purposes of this video, let's consider that you're using your smartphone or that you already know enough about mirrorless cameras and other cameras that you feel comfortable doing that. My only other point to bring up is that I really, really do love the Osmo Pocket cameras. These things are incredible, guys. Osmo Pocket cameras have been around now for what? Since 2020, at least 2019 maybe. The first generation came out. This one is this is a first generation. I have a second generation. I'm about to buy a third generation. They're just so good, guys. They've got all the options and benefits and bells and whistles that most very expensive mirrorless cameras have. And it's all built into this small little guy. Truly, the biggest complaint and the biggest weakness I believe that the Osmo Pocket has is its appearance doesn't match its actual capabilities. This thing is so much more of a beast than it looks like. It reminds me a little bit like the Cricket gun on Men in Black. Like, it's so tiny, but the thing can do so much damage. So my little Osmo Pocket is, in my opinion, the Cricket gun of cameras in 2024. All right, guys. This video has been a little bit longer than I intended it to, but I hope that it's been helpful. I hope that it gives you some confidence to believe that you have the gear that you need to start recording and that you have the confidence to be able to start. Nobody says that you have to post your first videos online, but I can promise you, if you'll record them as if you're gonna post it and watch it back, you're gonna start entering into that feedback loop where you're gonna improve and you're gonna get better and you're gonna get more confidence and it's gonna feel more natural. You're gonna feel less strange talking to the camera and it's gonna feel more comfortable and more normal to you. All right, guys, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. Like I said, I get a million emails and questions. I love answering them whenever I get a chance to.